But when we live for something else, when we live for something greater than ourselves, that is where we will find joy in the Lord. Fourth, there was rejoicing in tribulations. See, many times that service unto the Lord brings hardships. Because the world that is opposed to Christ doesn't like it. You might be living in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, but when you shine forth as light, those who love darkness do not want light to expose their deeds. And they become very unhappy about it. But Peter writes, "But rejoice, insomuch as you are partakers of Christ's sufferings." We see this exemplified by the apostles all through the book of Acts. The more they were persecuted, the happier they were. Not because we enjoy persecution. No one enjoys tribulation and hardships. No one enjoys sitting in jail. No one enjoys being in a dungeon. No one enjoys being hungry and thirsty. No one enjoys being whipped, stoned. No one enjoys those things, but they were rejoicing in tribulation. And listen to what Peter says, that when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy. They were rejoicing because there was something greater going on than their own pleasure. There was something greater going on than their own comfort. So he says, if you are reproached for the name of Christ, happy are you. For the Spirit of glory in God resteth upon you, and on their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. So don't let any of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's affairs. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf. Are we willing to suffer for Christ? Unfortunately, there's a large part of the church that is bowing down to the idols made by hands because they are not willing to suffer for the truth of Christ. But the apostles have showed us that there is great joy in standing for truth and suffering on account of it. I saw just this week as one man sought to expose some heresies that are going around in our midst, even amongst the Reformed churches. And he was attacked so viciously that he pulled the post off of the website because he said it was not worth it. Listen, the truth of Christ is worth it. It is worth any amount of suffering that we might have to endure. And just because someone gets on the internet and calls you a few names, that's not true suffering. We see the apostles who truly suffered for Christ, were martyred for Christ. And during the Reformation, 50 million saints martyred for the name of Christ. That is suffering. But even in the midst of that suffering, there is to be joy. There is joy. Have you found joy in the grace of God? Are you rejoicing that Christ is being preached? Are you rejoicing in your service for God? Are you rejoicing in any trial or tribulation that we must endure for the truth of Christ? But then we also see throughout the epistles the state of their sorrow. See, in James chapter 4, he writes, that he was very sorrowful because the saints were rejoicing in sinful boasting. James states, "Speak not evil one of another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law and judgeth the law. But if you are a judge of the law, you are not a doer of the law, but a judge. For there is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. Who are you that judgest another? Go to now, you that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year, buy and sell and get gain. Whereas you do not know what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time, and then vanisheth away. For that you ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live, to do this or that. But now you rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil. Therefore to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin." This is one of the issues that we have in the church in America, is the things that we should be rejoicing in, we are not. And the things that we should not be rejoicing in, we are. And James says that that is a state of sorrow upon the church. We also see sorrow for a lost nation in Romans chapter 9 and verse 1. As Paul said that he had a great heaviness and continual sorrow in his heart because he wished that even he himself could be accursed from Christ for his kinsmen. Think of that burden that Paul had. Listen to it. Paul said, if I could, I would be accursed from Christ. I would be damned if you could be saved. That's what Paul's attitude was. You see, he had a sorrow, and his sorrow was for his nation. The nation that was lost and without Christ. He had a sorrow for excommunicated members in 2 Corinthians chapter 2. Remember in 1 Corinthians he talked about he who should be cast out of their midst because of his sin. And in 2 Corinthians chapter 2 he has a sorrow for excommunicated members. And we see that he did not want to come unto them again with a rod. He did not want to come unto them again with discipline. He did not want to have to come unto them in that state because he had a sorrow for those who were not living in a worthy manner according to the gospel. See, in 1 Corinthians, remember, he told me, he said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to come unto you with a rod or with love? It's your choice. In other words, he's saying, either do right, or if you do wrong, suffer the consequences. That's what Paul was saying. See, it wasn't this lovey-dovey, accept everybody, and rainbows, and all that kind of stuff back in the first century church. It was, do what is right, and those who desire to do what is right, we will give you every help and aid necessary. But refuse to pursue what is right, and we will deal with the consequences. In 1 Corinthians, Paul said that that man that was living in sin was to be cast out of the church. He was to be delivered unto Satan. Very strong language that is used. And why did he say it? He said because you have to purge out the old leaven, because a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. Remember, there is to be a sorrow on excommunicated members. But there is also to be a sorrow in which causes us to search the depths of our heart to make sure that there is no leaven in us, lest we come to the same end. And also we see throughout the epistles the state of victory. John writes, "Whatsoever is born of God overcometh the world, and this is the victory that overcomes the world, even our faith." We don't have time to go into every aspect of this, but just to say that our state should be one of victory, not one of defeat. We are not called to live in defeat. We are called to live victorious. We are called to be overcomers. Book of Revelation is all about being an overcomer. Everyone wants to focus on the book of Revelation for all these weird things, nuclear wars and all this kind of stuff, instead of the real purpose of Revelation, which is to be an overcomer. To overcome this world. And we are told that whoever is born of God, if you are born of God, you will overcome the world. Not because of your own flesh, but because of who is living in you. You see, greater is Him that is in us than he that is in the world. So we are told that though Jesus said, "In the world you will have tribulation," because we are living in opposition to this world. We are involved in the creation of a new world. With new creatures, a new heaven and a new earth. So we are going to have tribulation because we are contra the present fallen world. But Jesus said, "Be of good cheer, I have overcome the world." So who's going to separate us from the love of Christ then? Tribulation, distress, persecution, famine, nakedness, peril, sword? Nope. Paul says we're more than conquerors through Him that loved us. God's purpose for His children is not to live in defeat. We are not to live in defeat, but to live in victory. But there is much discussion about the state of defeat throughout the epistles. I mean, think of it. Paul writes, "Demas hath forsaken me," because he loved this present world. We are told about those who crept in so that they might turn the grace of our God into lasciviousness. We're told that there were false prophets among the people who would bring in damnable heresies. And so Paul writes to the Philippians in chapter 3, verse 17, "Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk, so as ye have for us an example. For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are the enemies of the cross of Christ, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things." We're contrasted in 1 Timothy chapter 5 about those who would turn aside after Satan because they did not fulfill their duty and responsibilities. See, our duties and responsibilities is to walk in conformity to Christ. Our duties and responsibilities is to love our wives as Christ loved the church. Wives, it is to reverence, to submit to your husbands in the Lord. Children, it is to obey and to honor your parents. We are to live peaceably with all men as much as lies within us, if it is at all possible. We are to seek peace if there is the possibility of peace. We are to live in service to Christ within His church, and all these things that we read and have been admonished in throughout the New Testament. We also read of many examples where those things were forsaken and cast off. We have seen example of people throughout our lives who have, like Demas, forsaken the faith. You see, there is a state of defeat. So But we understand that they went out from us because they were not of us. For if they had been of us, John says, they would have no doubt continued with us. But they went out, that it might be made manifest that they were not of us. And the broader implication of that is that it might be made manifest that they were not of Christ. So in conclusion, what is the state of the church? Well, specifically for here at Reformed Church of the Holy Trinity, that depends. What is your state? What's your state this morning? What's your condition? See, we're all members of the body of Christ. If one member suffers, we all suffer. If one member rejoices, we all rejoice. If one member is victorious, we're all victorious. If one member is defeated, we're all defeated. What is your state? You see, the state of this church is largely dependent upon your spiritual state this morning.